back on the road to glory. It's been a minute since I said that intro, but season 3 of RTG is back, and it's your favorite host, Sean, joined by your other favorite host, Stefan, as usual. We're here to get into the brand new 2025-2026 college football season. When we left you guys, Ohio State was lifting the trophy after a well deserved um, championship run. But now we look ahead to a new season as all 136, 132 FBS teams set out on a quest for glory. Although we know the truth that only really the Power Four teams are competing, and then only a certain amount of the Power Four teams are competing. But you know, everybody has a fair chance. But before I continue, let me allow my co-host to speak. Steph, how you been living? How's the off season treated you? I know you're ready for football as spring football has been underway and getting back into action. What's the vibes?
Yeah, the vibes have been pretty good. We wrapped up the this last recruiting cycle with a pretty good class, and I'm excited for both the 2026 recruiting class and this upcoming season coming up. So it looks like it's going to be a wide open year. There isn't really any team coming into the season that looks like they're the favorite to win it all. So I just think there's a great opportunity here, and I think it's going to be a fun season.
Yeah, and I honestly I think we can start there with that take. To be honest, because I do think that you're right. It is similar to last year, where maybe last year there was a couple favorites, but as the season kind of developed, we kind of realized that it was a wide open year. Um, but I don't know. You don't feel like Texas is like a maybe not overwhelming favorite, but you don't think they should be a clear favorite going into next year? I mean, they're returning Arch Manning, obviously, and we all know the hype about him. They bring back a lot of other experience. They've been in the playoffs before now. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that you can't really say that any team is going to win it all. I think there's a lot of teams that have potential, and like you said, Texas, they should be up there. But again, new quarterback, we don't really know how Arch Manning is going to perform. Does he have the amount of talent around him needed to take that team to that next level? So to me, there's a lot of questions, and they're not really going to be able to be answered until we get into the season.
I think that's fair. Ohio State actually is the current odds-on favorite to win the national title to go back to back. Right now, plus 600 over on FanDuel. What do you think about Ohio State? Do you think they have a fair shot to go back to back? I mean, they're obviously in a quarterback competition right now. I know a lot of people are going to assume that Julian Sane is going to win that job in that position, but they also bring back guys like Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. So they still have a bunch of talent on that roster. Um, what do you think?
I mean, they're another team with a lot of guys that have left and a new quarterback. But one thing that they have, or two things that they have that nobody else in the country has, is the two best players in the country in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. So this is a team that you just can't count out. They're probably going to have a really good regular season record, probably go undefeated or 11-1 or something like that in the regular season, and then they're going to be dangerous in the playoffs because once you get to that deep in the season, your freshman, well, he's not a freshman, he's I guess a redshirt freshman. Your quarterback is not going to be a freshman anymore. It's not really like his first time starting. He'll be a little bit more seasoned by that point. So they're another team. If I had to pick, I would probably say Ohio State would be my pick
Okay.
to win the national title, just because, like I said, they got the two best players coming back, and they're going to be a problem.
For sure.
I think when you just factor in the best players with the coach, but again, they also have two new coordinators. So we got to see what Coach Hardline is going to be like as OC. I mean, we know what type of coach he is when it comes to recruiting, just bringing in legendary receiver after legendary receiver. He's finally getting his shot to be a coordinator. We'll see what that's like. And then on defense, their coordinator left to go to Penn State, so we'll see what happens there. So again, this is a team with a lot of questions. Obviously, still have Ryan Day as the head honcho over there, but again, like I would pick them to be my team to win it all, but it's not a confident pick. I don't think they're so much more ahead than any other team really.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Um, I wanna move the conversation though to Oregon and Penn State, or I mean to Georgia and Oregon, as those are the next two teams. Um, in odds, they're both plus 700 right now. Georgia, I feel like they're I think they I don't know if they continue to take a step back, um, because I think saying that a Kirby Smart team is going to take a step back is just not is not smart. But I mean, I just don't think they're going to win the SEC again like they did last year, and I don't really trust their offensive situation, especially at quarterback. I mean, I think Gunnar Stockton's a fine player as we saw last year, but I don't know if he's a difference maker. I don't know if he's elite, and I'm not going to necessarily say Georgia needs an elite quarterback to win because they won with Stetson Bennett, but he was playing elite. He wasn't elite, but he was
I
playing
think
elite.
Stetson Bennett was probably an elite college quarterback.
Yeah, he was. He was playing like one of the. He was playing amazing. So
Like he didn't have the NFL hype or potential, but as a college quarterback, he's about as good as you can get, really.
right.
Um, but I think Georgia shouldn't have won the SEC last year.
Yeah, Texas choked that
Like
game up.
that was all Texas, even going into the seat. Like Texas had no reason to lose that game, and I think that
They
was a
weren't
pretty
ready for
big
the moment.
disappointment. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a pretty big disappointment to me. But I don't know if they take a step back. I don't. Maybe on defense, it's just you're never going to get back to that 2021, 2022 level. That's probably never going to happen again. But I think they did upgrade at wide receiver. I think they took in three transfers. We'll see what Zachariah Branch is, but I mean, if you can just get guys that don't drop the ball, I mean, what was that dude last year that was dropping everything? He dropped that one deep ball. I mean, just can we get guys that catch the ball over there because that's honestly, and even during their best years, their national title years, wide receiver was probably their weakest position. So I think they're trying to fix that by bringing in a bunch of guys. Um, so I think it's going to help Stockton a lot. But again, we don't really know what he's going to look like. We haven't really seen him as the full time starter. At running back, they're okay. I mean, this is just a Georgia team that hasn't really been able to have an offense that fires on all cylinders since Brock Bowers left, and I think that's what they were missing last year. I mean, Carson Beck definitely took a step back, but I think a lot of that had to do with the supporting cast. I mean, you're just missing guys. Um, they had two people that should have been starting from them for them end up getting dismissed or suspended before the year, so they were missing guys that should have been key contributors, and they were still able to win the league. So I think you could really count them out. But again, I mean, with all these top teams, there's going to be a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Hmm.
I can't really come to any definitive conclusions about how I think their season's going to go, but they're going to have to put them in that upper echelon of the SEC until we see otherwise. And I think as long as they have Kirby Smart, they're probably going to be at least a 10-win team in that conference. So
I think that's fair. And then Oregon, obviously, bringing back Dante Moore and making him the starter this year, bringing him over from UCLA. Um, was number one ranked throughout the year. Last year, obviously, a good game, but a tough game in the playoffs. Talk to me, Steph. What's different about this year? What's improved? What are you still questioning? Is Oregon a legitimate national championship contender?
I think we are, but again, just like a lot of teams, we're gonna have a new quarterback.
Hmm.
Um,
It's a big
Dante
deal this
Moore,
year.
yeah, exactly. Pretty much, pretty much every team has a new quarterback, and the ones that are returning aren't really all that for the most part. So I think that that's gonna give us a lot of opportunity. Um, Dante Moore is the one that seems to have a lot of the NFL talent that we're looking for. I mean, when Bo Nix transferred in, I don't think anybody was looking at him as a first round quarterback. That was something that happened really after his second year playing for Oregon and more so towards the end of the year and how that shook out. But
Hmm.
um, I think Dante Moore gives us more of that NFL talent. Um, Definitely more arm talent than Dylan Gabriel. So if he can just put it together on the field, being a good decision maker, being able to deliver the ball, um, I think the sky's the limit for this team. I mean, you got Decoria Moore, the number one receiver in the recruiting class. That looks like he's going to be a guy. He's probably going to be starting. That's what I'm hearing from everything coming out of spring ball. Evan Stewart returning. We got the running back transfer, Makai Hughes from Tulane. He's probably going to be our starting running back. That guy is really good.
Yeah, I was gonna talk.
Cinnamon,
I was gonna ask about him when we were talking about your spring game in a little bit. So
yeah, yeah. We got Thieneman, the safety from Purdue, is probably the number one safety in the portal. He's another guy that's got NFL talent. If everything goes well, he should be a one and done. Um, so I think a lot of positions we've upgraded, but we did bring in three transfers for the O line. That makes me a little bit nervous because you don't really want to build your O line with transfers, and I'm not, and that's really if all of them are starters. I don't know if all three of those guys are going to be starting for us, but obviously I want the best players to play. But we did lose a lot in some positions, and but this is also the first time where a lot of a lot of our team is not going to be as transfer heavy. If you look at the first 2 years of Coach Landon's time, we did bring in a lot of transfers because he's trying to bring in his guys. A lot of guys leave when the coaches leave and things like that. So this is the time where a lot of those guys that Coach Landon has been recruiting should be getting on the field. Um, Jalil Florence, one of our corners, he was starting before in 2023, missed all 2024 with an injury. He's going to be back, and a lot of people are saying that the redshirt he'll be a redshirt freshman. Ify Obadegwu should be starting opposite of him. Um, and everybody's been really excited about him. He was a high ranked 4 star coming out of high school. And everybody's been really excited about him. I mean, the last time we had an African corner starting, we was in the natty. That's all I'm saying.
real.
That's all I'm saying. So, I like that trend. And so yeah, I think the secondary is probably going to be better. Um, we're looking for some of these younger guys to get out there. Aaron Flowers, um, Peyton Woodyard, Dakota Fields, Kingston Lopa. Like these are guys that we're looking at to really step into their part of this team. And we got that veteran leadership with Denneman from Purdue, who's had 2 awesome years as a player over there. And I'm looking for him to finish his college career at Oregon before going pro. Um, Linebacker Bryce Betcher and Devin Jackson are looking like to be the pair of starters in that position. After losing Jeffrey Bossa, but Devin Jackson is another guy with a lot of athletic potential. He's been playing a lot better last year in more of a backup role. But he's one of the fastest guys on the team at linebacker. I mean, he's been clocked. I forget the actual GPS times, but he's had some of the fastest GPS times as a linebacker, by the way. So Hopefully, he can just improve even more and really step into that starter role. And then Bryce Betcher, the baseball guy, was originally a walk on, got drafted to the MLB last year and decided to come back for his final year of football. Um, that guy has just been a beast out there, played way past any type of expectations because he doesn't even have to play football. He could go play baseball in the pros, and he's looking like somebody that could end up getting drafted in the NFL as well. So just an amazing athlete and a great story. So definitely excited about that. And D line, we lost a lot. Lost Jordan Birch, but we got Mateo Uyunglele back for another year. Um, should have Blake Purchase starting in a significant role. And trying to think of the guy that was originally committed to Arizona, but then we flipped him at the last second. He was committed to us and then committed to Arizona. Then we flipped him back. I think he redshirted, and he should be ready to play as well. So again, this is that time where it really feels like it's Coach Lane's team, not as transfer heavy. Um, and I think we're gonna have a pretty good season, man. We do have a weak schedule, so our toughest game is going to be at Penn State. I think if we win that game, that's gonna tell us a lot about this team.
All right. And Penn State's actually another team that I want to bring up in just a second. But outside of these top four teams that you just mentioned, Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, and Oregon, um, are there any other teams that you think could potentially be a national championship contenders? As in like a Penn State, Notre Dame, Alabama, Tennessee, Clemson, LSU. We'll talk about more sleeper teams, more breakout teams a little bit later, but more of the cream of the crop, some of the more household names. Do you think there's any other teams that could really be with those top four contenders?
I would say maybe Penn State and maybe Clemson. Those are the only two I'm gonna put in that upper echelon. Both of them are teams with that actually have returning quarterbacks. Y'all know I'm not really the biggest fan of Drew Aller. Um, and again, they're another team that can't figure out how to get a wide receiver. It's been a while since we've seen a good one over there,
Yeah.
and their tight end is gone. So how do they reload? I mean, do you know their defense is going to be good? They took the coordinator from Ohio State.
Yeah.
I think they're going to just keep on rolling in that regard. But I just have questions on offense, man. Like we always hear about the talent of Drew Aller, but it seems like he hasn't really been able to take that team to the next level. I mean, you look at that Notre Dame game in the playoffs, he made some bad decisions. I mean, he threw two bad interceptions at the end of that game that cost him the game. So
Yeah. Especially the last one.
right, and I just look at this team and I'm like, well, are we gonna get anything out of the wide receiver position from this team? Because if you look at every team that's won a national title, they have had at least one really good wide receiver. Period. A lot of them have two. So this is just something that I think needs to happen. Um, and Clemson, they are still not really going in all in on the portal, but this is a team that we've seen improve the past few years. They won the ACC, made the playoffs. Cade Klubnik is back. I think he's pretty good. I'm not the biggest fan of him either, but I would rather have him than Drew Aller. What do you think?
Um, I think based on what I've seen with my eyes, I'd rather have Drew Aller. But I think Cade Klubnik is probably or will probably one day be the better player if once they both go to the NFL. Um, I don't know. I agree. I agree with the Penn State take. I do think Penn State has a chance to be special this year. I mean, I didn't realize, and maybe my information is wrong, but are they bringing back Nick Singleton? I know Katron Allen's coming back. Nick Singleton was a sophomore last year, right? A true
That's the
sophomore.
running back. That's the running back.
Yeah, that's the running back.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they should be bringing him
Yeah,
back.
so they're bringing back both of their running backs. Who Singleton he had 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. He also had 41 receptions, 375 yards through the air, and five scores. And Katron Allen had 1,000 yards as well. Um, So they're going to have the best backfield in college football next year. They're bringing back Drew Allar, who's like we said, he's not he's up he's been up and down, but for most of last season he played really well. He had 24 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, completed 66.5% of his passes, threw for over 3,000 yards. They're bringing back 4 or 5 starters on the offensive line. Obviously, the wide receiver room is going to be a question mark, like it always is. Uh, Although they brought over Kyron Hudson from USC and Devontae Ross from Troy, um, no one's going to replace Tyler Warren, so nothing they can do there. But hopefully, they can just get solid tight end play. And then on the defense side of the ball, like you mentioned, they brought over Jim Knowles, who's probably the most key addition um, in the entire offseason from Ohio State. Yeah, they lose Abdul Carter, who had 12 sacks, but they return, a, I think, a total of 11 and a half sacks throughout other players from last year on their defensive line. So bringing back some experience there. They lose Kobe King, but um, I think they added some players on that side of the ball as well, and they bring back their safety as well, who led the team in tackles. So I think they'll be okay. I think they're very experienced. I think last year was a good experience for them, and I think they're ready to take that next step. Now, obviously, they play in the Big Ten with teams like Oregon, teams like Ohio State, with teams like Michigan. So it's going to be tough. Um, but I'm interested to see if Penn State can kind of run it back and get another chance. Um, but all right, let's move on from that early national championship talk. Do you have any early Heisman contenders? I mean, based on the odds right now, Garrett Nussmeier leads the odds on FanDuel. I don't know why people are betting on Garrett
I don't
Nussmeier.
know why so many people. Can we just talk about LSU real quick and really Nussmeier? I don't know
Yeah,
why so many people in the college football media hype this dude up so much. Like every time I watch this dude play, I feel like he makes three stupid, like the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen a quarterback make. Whenever I watch this dude play, like, did y'all not watch the Texas A&M game last year? What are we talking about with this dude? Like, and LSU in general under Brian Kelly has just been a major flop. Like, they're one of those teams that I'm starting to get tired of, honestly,
yeah. I
because
feel like
we don't rock with Brian Kelly over here, and the whole Nussmeier thing, like I'm tired of people talking about how talented a player is, but if they don't play up to that, like when they don't play up to that level, why are we sitting here talking about so much talent, but he hasn't been able to put it together in multiple years of starting. So why are we still hyping this dude up like he's the next big thing when he hasn't shown that ever? They haven't even made it to the SEC title game with this dude at quarterback. So what are we talking about?
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. He's not all that at all. He's tied with Arch Manning right now for the highest odds. They're both plus 800. That they're followed by Cade Klubnik, Jeremiah Smith, and Julian Sayin. The next batch is Dante Moore, Lenoris Sellers, Drew Allar, Nico Iamaya. I don't even know how to pronounce the last name.
Yeah, I'm a
Sorry.
layover.
Yeah, and DJ Lagway. So yeah, interesting, interesting. I think these odds will change a lot once August gets here or September gets here. Um, but yeah, I think Jeremiah Smith is obviously, or in my eyes, should be the odds-on favorite. I don't know if the quarterback play will be on par, you know, to to truly get what you can out of Jeremiah Smith. But I mean, he made Will Howard look like a god during that playoff run. So maybe it doesn't really matter who's throwing him the ball. They just need to get it in his area. And then obviously I'm excited for DJ Lagway as well. Plus 1800. That's pretty high odds. I think throwing 20 25 bucks on that wouldn't be bad. Would be pretty worth it, to be honest, if you want to put some money on a long shot.
I mean,
Um,
speaking of Lagway, I mean, how are you feeling about Florida? Because we talked about everything being so wide open. I feel like the SEC is no different. I think if Lagway plays up to his potential, or even pretty close to it, I think Florida could be somebody that's in the SEC championship at the end of the year.
yeah, I'm definitely feeling good about the Gators going into 2025. Obviously, there's a bit of cautiousness when I say that, just based on the past and what we've gotten from Florida over the past 5 years. Um, but I think the talent is all there to finally push to that next level and take that next step. Obviously, I think DJ Lagway is the ultimate difference maker, and that if he is who we think he is, then this process will be a lot more easier. But even surrounding him, I think Florida has a. I think we were returning 4 or 5 starters on our offensive line. Um, we're returning, I want to say, 7 out of 11 on our defense as well, maybe more than that. And we're bringing back our running back, all of our wide receivers, and our quarterback. So a lot of returning production, a lot of snaps played. We're one of the few teams that doesn't have a new quarterback. You know what I mean? I think that's definitely going to be an
Yeah,
advantage. Like it's not like, especially early on in the year. I think obviously as the year goes on, more guys will have time to get into their rhythm, and that won't be as big of a difference maker. But early on in the year against some of these teams early on our schedule, I think we definitely have the advantage when it comes to continuity. Um, but I don't know. The game's got to be played, and the players got to live up to the talent. I think we're definitely talented. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. Florida just also won a basketball natty, so last time we won a
oh my
basketball natty,
goodness.
we were winning football natties as well. So
Oh my goodness.
we might as well carry some of that momentum over and win us a nice little back to back again. But I don't know. Our spring game is Saturday, and actually, it was announced that it's not going to be televised. It's only going to be for viewing in person. So I'm a little bit disappointed because obviously, if you don't know, I'm from New Jersey. I don't live in Florida, so I will not be able to attend. So I will not be able to see the spring game this year. But um, yeah, let's talk about spring and the spring game and all of this because spring games have been a hot topic, a hot uh, point of contention and point of debate over the past few months. I mean, all different things have been brought up, like transfer portal concerns. I mean, some coaches like Nebraska's Matt Rule have expressed such concerns, talking about showcasing new players might not be beneficial in the current transfer environment with the spring window opening up next week and a lot of spring games happening last weekend and this weekend. It's ample opportunity for players to get film and then get tampered with by coaches and scouts for other universities watching and scouting these games. Um, yeah, I I think that there's some truth to that, obviously, because I don't think these coaches are just making things up. I think it's probably has have to have happened um, for I guess Nebraska's coach and other coaches to talk about that. You know, people being able to scout. But tampering goes on regardless. I mean, these guys are getting their practice film after practice all the time, and then giving it to their agent, and their agent is shopping it around. So like, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. Um, but it is an obvious problem if all these schools are doing it. Um, another reason, you know, with the extended seasons and with the college football playoff expansion, other teams and coaches are trying to avoid spring games to avoid fatigue. Schools like Texas, Steve Sarkisian mentioned that, saying that they just played all these games. They were just playing in January basically, and they don't feel like they need to play a game in April. And then there's other teams like Auburn or Oklahoma. Auburn's doing an A-Day, which is basically an open practice. It'll be a standard practice for fans to attend. And Oklahoma is doing a Crimson Combine instead of a traditional scrimmage. And you've had other coaches like Deion Sanders and his Colorado program propose joint practices with other programs, which eventually lead to a scrimmage or culminate in a scrimmage on the weekend, which kind of mirrors like the NFL preseason activities. He thinks that this would be better competition and preparation for each teams, and other coaches have agreed with that. I mean, Syracuse, their head coach Fran Brown, he said that he would definitely participate and would love to do it with Colorado. In fact, but I think the NCAA did some of their rules did prohibit that from happening. But yeah, so a lot of things are going on. It is the traditional spring game is definitely at a crossroads. Some programs, they want to maintain the status quo. Others are experimenting with new formats to adapt to, the ever evolving landscape of college football. Steph, what are your overall thoughts on just everything?
I'm gonna be honest, as a fan, I don't really care about spring games going away. I don't like as much as they're sort of fun to get a glimpse of your team, and watch some of the new guys play. Like you don't really get any information out of it about who's gonna start where and who's gonna be a good player come fall and things like that. So I'm not really worried about them going away in that regard, but um, I do like the idea that was talked about with Colorado and Syracuse having like a joint practice and things like that. Um, I think the problem with that was that they kind of tried to do it too late. So I think next year you might see somebody do it, but and that's not even for me as a fan. I think it would be good for players on both sides to um, get that competition during the spring. And like I've said for a while now, like the FCS games should be spring games. To set like, cause you should not have an FCS team on your actual schedule in the fall. It could be you could still pay them to play them so that they get their $1 million or whatever to keep their program going, and then um, you still get that element of having somebody in a different jersey that you're playing against, or even you could do like a 3 day joint practice, like how the NFL does, where they have, teams a team pulls up and then y'all practice for a while and then end up having a scrimmage at the end. Um, I think something like that is beneficial for both teams because again, you're getting that element of competition that you don't really get going against your own team. So I think it's something that should happen. Um, But again, like as a fan and not really getting to watch the spring games, I mean, we're seeing more and more teams have them, but not televise them. I'm pretty sure Clemson didn't televise theirs or isn't going to televise theirs. Um, it doesn't really bother me that much, but things are just changing, man. Like, and I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. I just think that the sport is kind of in a crossroads right now with NIL and the transfer portal, and there's a bunch of lawsuits going on that could potentially change everything. So I think in a while there's gonna be it's gonna look a lot different. This is not what we grew up with, because it was pretty much the same thing every year, right? You had the season, and then spring ball, and then the spring game. So that was pretty much the only thing you got during the off season. Now that changes with two portal windows, and it's really like a year round thing. So I'm just happy to follow with whatever we get. Honestly, I don't really care about my team not televising a spring game or not having one. I want them to do what's best for them. I want them to be successful in the fall, and if that means keeping players from getting to showcase something or get tampered with, I'm all for that. And we all know that football coaches are extremely paranoid about pretty much everything. Like I've heard stories about coaches like moving practices indoors because there's a building across the street where somebody could be recording, and it gets out of control with some of these guys. So, um, to me, this is just expected, and I'm just ready for fall to get here, man.
Yes, sir. So let's talk about some of these spring practices and some of these spring games that have happened. Some of these teams. We're not going to obviously talk about every team today, but just a few here. Start off with Alabama. I think Alabama's finally interesting. With all due respect to Nick Saban, um, i- Alabama wasn't the most interesting program under his direction. They sure won. They were sure dominant. Um, I'll give them that. Obviously, I'm not gonna. It wasn't always fun to keep up with Alabama. But now I think that they're not as they've taken a step down. It's interesting to see if Coach Kalen DeBoer can step up and really get Alabama back to where they belong and to where they usually are. It's his second year. He's obviously brings a big quarterback competition after Jalen Milroe departures to the NFL. Ty Simpson, a junior, um, he's the front runner currently, but there's transfer Austin Mack from Washington, who they brought over last year, and then early enrollee
He's not
Keelan.
really a transfer.
Yeah, he's not really a transfer because he was with Kellen DeBoer at Washington, but
Yeah,
and then early enrollee Keelan Russell, who I think is a phenom. He's special. He's phenomenal. I wanted Florida to recruit him. They did recruit him, but I think he saw a quicker track to being the starter at Alabama, and it's that A holds weight. So shout out to them. Um, I think Simpson right now, like I said, I think he's currently the front runner. He completed 12 18 passes for 145 yards in their spring game, but um, when you see Keelan Russell, his arm talent, it just jumps off the page. And even Austin Mack, I think he's a definitely a capable quarterback. So I think that competition is going to go through the fall, and it's going to really whoever wins it, um, I think you're going to know is the right guy for that job because I don't think it's going to be an easy task. Um, Freshman cornerback Dijon Lee and Zay Mincy, I think he's a true sophomore now. I think those two corners are going to combine to be one of the more dominant uh, defensive back units in the SEC, just based off the spring that they've had and what the reports are saying. Um, and then the offensive line. I mean, obviously, that's been a big question mark. But returning Caden Proctor and Jaden Roberts, I think this O line should be way more solid and should be able to protect whichever quarterback um, decides to, or the coaches decide to roll out there. I think Alabama is low key a sleeper. I think if everything goes right for them, and that's a big if, um, I think they can easily win the not maybe not easily, but I think they can win the SEC and go on to make the playoffs. Um, I think that defense is going to be a big is going to have to be a big reason why it happens though. What do you feel like? What do you think about Alabama?
um, I don't really know what to think. We know about Ryan Williams and the talent that he is, but they're another team that's going to have a new quarterback. They have a quarterback competition that's probably going to last until fall camp. Um, I don't know. Maybe don't lose to Vanderbilt this year.
Yeah, that
Let
would
let's
help.
start. Let's start there.
Another team that they have to beat is the Auburn Tigers. They have been beating them, but this year I think Auburn is poised to maybe take a step forward. Wouldn't necessarily label them as a breakout team yet, but I think Hugh Freeze is really banking on transfer quarterback Jackson Arnold to really have a rebirth and spark that offense that I think averaged 13.3 points in 7 losses last year. Based on intel, Arnold he has been looking sharp in spring. Showing mobility and accuracy, but adapting to a new system, a new school, a new environment after losing the starting job in 2024 is definitely going to be a tough task for anybody. Um, a big performance from their running back Jeremiah Cobb. And during their 8-day practice, he ran for 112 yards, hinting at what could potentially be a bigger role in the offense. Um, so we'll see. We'll see if Auburn and their portal heavy approach can continue to build on what's going on. Because I know Hugh Freeze is a name that is on the hot seat, or maybe not on the hot seat, but the seat is definitely getting warm. And Auburn just hasn't been what they should be in since Harlan for a minute.
No,
Um,
I mean they went crazy in the portal, so we're gonna see. My question is still gonna be quarterback. I
yeah,
just don't know. I just don't know how these teams just struggle to find a quarterback year after year after year. I don't get it.
we'll see. Um, a another team I want to mention. Jumping over. Actually, I want to wait. I want to wait for that team because I want to mention them when we talk about the potential breakout teams. You mentioned Clemson. Um, K. Klubnik coming off a 36 touchdown season. Um, he looked sharp in their spring game last week. They have a new DC, Tom Allen, right? I think that's his name. Um,
Hmm.
I man, I've been a Clemson believer the past 2 years. I've been trying to to bat for them, and it just hasn't paid off. And I just don't know if I can trust them at this point. Um, even
Why
after
not?
hearing,
I feel like this is the year to actually trust them.
that's what I'm saying. Even after hearing the positive things from spring, and I know they did finally make a few additions in the portal as well, but I don't know. I'm just jaded. I think you're right. I'm just jaded. I don't trust them.
I
I
mean,
have
the
trust issues.
ACC is just so weak right
So
now.
wide open.
It's like SMU won the conference. I mean, not they didn't win the conference. Clemson won the conference, but SMU made the playoffs last year. Um, I'm just looking at that league, and I feel like it's going to be Clemson and SMU again, at least in terms of the best two teams. We got Miami out there, but I
What
don't
about
really
North
know.
Carolina?
We have no. I just have no idea about anything in regards to that team. No idea. That team is the biggest wild card in the sport, I think, right now. We just have no idea what they're going to look like. I mean, do we even know their quarterback? Like, I'm sure we could look up their roster, but there's just nothing that's even out there about that team.
All right. Let's talk about a few under the radar sleeper teams. Steph, would you like to start? Would you like me to start?
You can start.
I think my first team that I would like to
Well,
mention.
sleeper teams in what way? Are we talking about national title or conference title?
I'm more thinking within the conference.
Okay.
Playoff berth potential, not necessarily. If you have a national title sleeper that you would like to bring up, I think that's fair. Just let us know. But a few of these teams on my list aren't necessarily. I don't think any of these guys are really national title contenders. First team, Louisville. Like you just mentioned, I think the ACC is wide open. Um, bringing over quarterback Miller Moss from USC, bringing back freshman phenom Isaac Brown at running back and Duke Watson. I think this is also one of the best running back duos in the entire country. Their defense, they added depth. I think they need to improve their pass rush for sure. Um, but I really think they can outperform expectations here. And in 2024, they had a lot of close losses. Maybe not a lot, but they had a few close losses. Um, And if those games flipped, we could be talking about Louisville a lot differently. I mean, they were just in the ACC championship game. What, 2 years ago was that?
Yeah.
So I I think they can maybe backdoor their way into another one this year. I don't necessarily saying that they will, but I think that's definitely going to be my sleeper team in the ACC this year. Uh, would be Louisville.
My sleeper team in the ACC. I guess there's two of them.
Go ahead. You can give two.
Um, Honestly, I feel like there's three of them I want to mention, and they are Georgia Tech, Duke, and Boston College. Georgia Tech got Haynes King back. I'm pretty sure Jamal Haynes is back.
Hmm.
Um, got Duke doing a crazy move by running Malik Murphy out of town
That
and
is
going and
crazy.
getting Darian Mensa.
Mensa.
Um, I don't really know if I am in favor of that, but I mean, if they think he's an upgrade over what they had, I mean, they won 9 games last year, so they could be right in the thick of it. And Boston College, after making the quarterback change, um, seeing better passing out of their offense, they did finish 7-6. I think this is a team that if they could win some of these games that are maybe close ones, they could be a team that we're talking about at the end of the year. Um, they do play Clemson, Louisville, and SMU, so they do kind of have a tougher schedule in regards to ACC. But I just think with Bill Bryan, they're a team that's always going to be well coached. They're always going to have a good scheme, and they're going to at least win the games they should. So I think Boston College could be another team because if you look at other teams in the conference, I'm not really worried about NC State. I'm not really worried about Virginia Tech. I'm pretty sure Kyron Drones just got surgery. Like I don't know. I think Virginia Tech could miss a bowl game this year. Honestly, they were a big disappointment last year. I don't really see them really doing anything important. Um, Florida State. Who knows what they're going to look like? They took the Boston College reject to be their quarterback. So we gonna I don't really know like what is Florida State trying to be? I just and who would they get as their OC? Gus Malzahn?
Yeah.
It's 2025, man. Like what are we? I don't know. What are we doing?
He said, "Yeah, it's over for those guys. They're not a sleeper." I like the three teams that you gave though, and
No,
the thing I like about the three teams that you gave, the head coaches. I like all
right?
three. Brett Key, Bob, and who was the other team you said?
Duke May Diaz.
And Manny Diaz. Yeah, I think I think they're all going to be well coached. Um, they all are going to have an identity,
Yep,
and
yep.
all three. Who's going to be Boston College's quarterback?
I forgot the guy's name, but it should be the dude from last year that he ended up starting like
To
midway
start
through the
it.
season. Yeah.
So they're going to all have
Um.
decent. They're all going to have good quarterbacks, but I'm not too sure about him. We'll see about that guy. I don't know much about him. I'm not gonna pretend like I do, but Mensa should give good quarterback play for Duke, and Haynes King should give good quarterback play for Georgia Tech as well. So yeah, I like that. All right.
So how do you feel about Miami though? Because both of us didn't really mention Miami in regards to like winning the conference or anything like that.
Well, I definitely yeah, I wouldn't consider Miami a sleeper team. I definitely think they're in that.
No, they're definitely not a sleeper.
Yeah, no, I would put them in that Clemson. If you want to put SMU in that, like I don't know who you would put in that top tier, but I'm putting Miami in that top tier for sure. I mean, Carson Beck, obviously very experienced, and then I mean, look how Manny Diaz, look how Mario Cristobal recruits. I mean, it's not like they don't have talent at Miami. I just do you trust them on game day?
No.
So there's there there's that answer. I mean, last year they got close, and then they sold it down the stretch. So I think they're gonna compete again. I think they're gonna probably be like in first place for majority of the season, um, in the ACC. But when it comes down to crunch time, when it comes down to get the job done, I don't know if I'll necessarily ever really pick them to win the ACC. I mean, Miami has never won the ACC. Stat of the day. If you don't know that, uh, they
When's
their
the
last
last time they won a conference? Was it the Big East like
the Big
20
East.
years ago?
The last time Miami has been a conference champion is when they won the Big East. So bring back the Big East, by the way. OG Big East, like that's phenomenal, man. Miami in the Big East, I love that. Rutgers, Syracuse, who else in the Big East? UConn. Uh, I don't know, but man, that was a good football. That was a good football conference back in the day, bro.
It was.
USF was in the Big East. Um, yeah, man, RIP to that legendary conference. But let's talk about the Big Ten. I think my Big Ten sleeper team is. I don't know if you necessarily consider them a sleeper team. So maybe I cheated here, but I went with Illinois. Um, I- they returned their quarterback Luke Altmaier, and pretty much their entire offensive line. Their schedule also avoids Big Ten heavyweights like Michigan and Oregon, so they got a bunch of winnable games. I think they went. I think they won 10 games last year, right?
Yep, they went 9-3 regular season and won the bowl game.
Yeah, so 10-3. So I can see this team being the Indiana of 2025 in the Big Ten. You know, I think they're really set up and poised to do some damage. I don't like I said. I think majority of this is because they get to avoid a Michigan and an Oregon, but and they have winnable games on their schedule. But I mean, hey, take full advantage of your schedule, just like you did, or just like Indiana did last year, and get a playoff bid. I mean, you might lose in the first round, but hey, at least you make it. You're not expecting Illinois, ever to do much. But I think they're a potential Big Ten team that can, have a good season and maybe again finish in that top 25, top 15 range for sure. Any Big Ten?
Um, in terms of Big Ten sleepers, I don't really know if I have a Big Ten sleeper. I mean, is Michigan a Big Ten sleeper? Like,
I can see why you would say that.
I just, I really honestly, and this is probably the least wide open conference for me. I really think it's Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State that are going to be one of the teams to win that league. I'm going to have to say Michigan, but they have a true freshman quarterback. Illinois, I would probably agree with, but they lost their two top receivers last year. I'm pretty sure. Is that other guy back? I know Zachary Franklin is gone, but um, their leading receiver,
The other guy, I don't know his name, but I know you're talking about. Yes, they
Pat
had two.
Bryant, Pat
Pat Bryant.
Bryant, Pat
Yeah.
Bryant. Yeah, he's gone too.
Okay.
Um, I just think I just think it's gonna be tough without because I don't really know what they're gonna bring in, what they had behind them. So, or if they brought in any transfers, that I don't think that they're gonna be able to get another guy that's gonna be able to be on that level. And then when you start going down the list, like Iowa, USC, Minnesota, Washington, Michigan State, Wisconsin, I think there's just a lot of mid in this conference. Um, Iowa's interesting because what did they do? They did something. I think they got a new OC, so they should be. They oh no. They took that FCS quarterback, that quarterback that was like a legend in the FCS. Um, that's going to be starting for them. So if they get a guy that can just throw the ball a little bit, this team could be pretty dangerous. So you know what? I'm going to go with Iowa as my sleeper.
I like this guy's talking about Iowa as a sleeper is crazy, but I'm brand. Crazy, but I'm brand.
I mean, but seriously though, are you gonna trust Minnesota? UCLA is not gonna be good. Nebraska, come on, bro. Like I'm not rocking with Nebraska. Michigan
Uh,
State,
I rock
I
with.
don't I don't like Aiden Childs or what's that fake Mahomes name?
Uh,
I don't like any of
Dylan
them. I don't.
Viola.
Yeah, I don't like Viola or Childs. I'm not a fan. So I can't make those teams my sleeper. I don't think they're gonna be good. I think Michigan State might miss a bowl game again, and Nebraska is gonna be their typical mid. So and does Rutgers is Rutgers getting Callie and Manis back?
I think they are. I'm pretty sure they are.
Because he was a huge upgrade
Upgrade.
over
He was.
what's his name? No, I'm pretty sure he was a senior. He was
Gavin
old though.
Wimsat. Wimsat.
I mean, because that guy couldn't throw the ball at all. But um, I mean, Rutgers is losing Manunga. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah,
Yeah, but they're deep at running back.
yeah. Samuel Brown was a good player too.
They're bringing back a bunch of wide receivers, I think, as well. They're losing a lot on defense, but they also bring back a few people on defense that were injured last year. So I think Rutgers will be decent, but they
Yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah.
They shouldn't.
Like
They shouldn't. Wait, what's their schedule
Rutgers,
actually?
last year was when Rutgers should have really won a bunch of games. I mean, they do. Rutgers plays Oregon, they play
And
Ohio
Ohio
State
State. Yeah,
and
it's
Penn
over.
State.
Oh yeah, it's a wrap. They're cooked.
Their schedule this year is really tough. I don't know if they're gonna go bowling. Like just the amount of talent is gonna be. I'll just walk you through. Ohio, Miami of Ohio, Norfolk State. So that should probably be 3-0. Iowa, they open up conference play with Iowa. Then Minnesota, Washington, Oregon, Purdue, Illinois, Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, if they go 6-6, they're gonna have to steal one from Washington or Minnesota or one of those teams. If they start the season off 3-0, I don't really see where they win three conference games. I mean, maybe Purdue's they gotta win. They gotta beat Purdue, Maryland, and then they gotta beat like Minnesota or Washington. And Washington is probably going to be improved over last year with Demond Williams actually being the guy at quarterback.
Yeah, that was.
And
I
that
was
was
actually. That's a good. That's a good sleeper Big Ten team, to be honest.
yeah, and that one's going to be in Seattle. They barely beat them in Piscataway last year, so I don't know. I might have to pick Washington, sadly.
I like that.
In that
Illinois and Washington are
game,
definitely two Big Ten
yeah,
sleeper
like
teams.
yeah, I don't think Washington's going to be as bad last year. They're gonna be better.
No, no,
Um,
for sure.
so and I think Minnesota is going to be a tough team as well. Like
They usually are.
it, yeah, it's just in this league, like if you're one of these teams, a lot of your season's gonna be determined by schedule, and then you're gonna have to steal one. Like Rutgers is gonna have to beat Illinois. But remember, weren't they about to beat Illinois last year?
Yeah, and they lost in the
And then
last second.
they completed
Yeah,
like a Hail Mary or something.
it wasn't
So
a Hail
they
Mary, but
so
it was bad. Yeah,
right, it was a deep pass, right, that ended up
yeah.
getting them into the scoring range. But
Rutgers should have won.
yeah, so a lot of these things could go either way. Um, So I think Rutgers could still go bowling, but again, like quarterback, like are they gonna have a serviceable quarterback? Who knows?
Who knows?
You know, like
But
we're they're another team that has a new one. So
true.
I think it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
So yeah, the Big Ten, I feel like yeah, like out of the sleepers, like Illinois, I like that pick. Iowa, Washington. I don't know if Michigan's really a sleeper team,
no,
but
that's like is Florida a sleeper in the SEC?
yeah.
Yeah,
Like, and how do you feel about USC though? Because
I'm not out on them, but I'm not excited for them. I have no expectations for them.
that's kind of how I feel about them.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a team that they finally got rid of Alex Grinch.
took them long enough.
I know. Oh my goodness. I
But
can't believe they was putting his defenses on my TV screen. But this is, I'm looking at their schedule. They finally play Oregon again. Um, they have a pretty weak schedule. well, at least in conference outside. Well, I shouldn't say weak because they do play Notre Dame. They do play Michigan. I
They
don't
play Notre
know.
Dame every year, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that doesn't count towards conference, of course. But
Right.
I don't know. I think they probably should win like 8 or 9 games, but we just can't count on this team to do that. Like it's just year after year they lose games that they shouldn't lose.
Hmm. I agree. It's like the time, the story of their life. Um, let's uh let's talk about some SEC sleepers, and then we'll talk about the Big 12 because like there's really there's no sleepers in the Big 12. Like everybody's a sleeper in the Big 12. Like let's be real. Like there are,
Yeah,
but
the
there's not.
whole Big 12 could be a sleeper.
Yeah, literally. So let's talk about the SEC first, and then we'll go to the Big 12. I have Oklahoma as my SEC sleeper. Um, I think obviously they way underperformed expectations last year. I mean, they have one of the hardest schedules in the country last year,
They had a lot of
and
injuries too.
they had a lot of injuries, and they also are going to have the same schedule this year. So schedule's not going to get any easier. I don't think. I think it's going to be similar to kind of the Florida Gators and how a few years ago we went what 5-7, and then last year we won 8 games or seven, 8 including the bowl game. But um, so that's not really good. I mean, being 7-5 is not good, but compared to our schedule and like you know what I mean, like we took a step.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so I think
You
Oklahoma's
definitely got better, and
yeah.
y'all did steal that game against Ole Miss, which was hilarious.
Right. And we beat LSU, who was in the top something at the same, like a few weeks before
Yeah,
that. Anyways, um, yeah, I think Oklahoma is going to be on a similar trajectory. I think they're going to take a step forward this year. Might only win 7, 8 games, maybe 9. But I do like John Mateer coming over from what was it, Wazoo, right?
yeah,
Um, yeah, he's an electric quarterback. I mean, I think Oklahoma ranked like 100 and I was listening to Josh Pate. He said Oklahoma ranked like 130 something in explosive plays, and then Washington State ranked 10th, and they brought over Mateer and their offensive coordinator. So, like you said, they're going to get a lot of their wide receivers healthy. They lost Nick Anderson, they lost a couple guys to the portal, but Oklahoma has a deep talent pool, man. I mean, Venables has been recruiting his ass off on the low, so I think they're a pretty solid sleeper team. What about you? You gonna give me a South Carolina? Is
I
that a
can't
sleeper
really
team
say.
though?
Yeah, I can't really say South Carolina's a sleeper because
Wow, South Carolina has expectations now.
they kind of do, and it's kind of weird. But Oklahoma is another team. I think that's a good pick. Um, like you said, with John Mateer, everybody getting back from injury. Um, but my question is John Mateer going to be able to perform with the higher level of competition week to week? Because I just don't really know like what he's going to look like in the SEC. He does have his offensive coordinator from Wazoo. Um,
Is that the same guy that worked with Cam Ward? Do you know?
I think so.
If it is, then I feel like I
Because
would trust.
him and Mateer was on the same team.
Yeah. So I feel like Cam Ward could play in the SEC. And obviously
Absolutely.
Cam Ward
But
was at.
Cam Ward,
Go
but
ahead.
Cam Ward played against better like he played well against the good competition that he played against at Wazoo. Like the
Right.
Pac-12, the
Right.
Pac-12 is different than the Mountain West, right?
That's true.
Like
Good point.
like Wazoo basically played a Mountain West schedule. They did win the Apple Cup last year, but I mean Washington sucked. So like
Yeah.
I just
I feel you.
I just-
You
I
have to
don't
see
I
it.
don't
You have
really
to see it
know.
first.
Yeah,
You
like
want to
I
see
gotta
it.
see it. I gotta
I
see it.
got you. I got
But
you.
we do know what kind of quarterback he is. He's just such a gamer, like I think he'll be better than Jackson Arnold was. Um, and that whole situation is hilarious to me because they ran Dylan Gabriel out of town to get the
Hmm.
talented young guy,
And then
and then they
ran him
kind of like
instead.
walked it back. They got rid of the talented young guy and got an old guy, like an old proven guy, right? So it's like I just think that's funny. It's like y'all should have just stuck to your guns or whatever. But I don't know. I think Oklahoma should be better than last year. They did beat Alabama, which is so funny. Um, so we'll see. I think in the SEC, my sleeper team
I
is
want to say that.
probably. Go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was to say I wanted to mention Auburn, but like I mentioned, I just don't trust them. Like I don't
I
think
don't
they.
trust them either.
Like I feel like they
I don't.
should be a team that could potentially be a sleeper, but like they're gonna win
I
five
don't. I don't
games.
trust Auburn either. Yeah, I don't trust Auburn because quarterback. It's just if you don't have a quarterback, I have no idea. My sleeper team might have to be Texas A&M. I think another year of Mike Elko. Can they get past the 8-4? Can we get past the 8-4 Texas A&M? That's my question.
Who's the
And can
quarterback?
Marshall,
Marshall Reed?
yeah, and can Marshall Reed throw the ball?
No,
If he can throw the ball or be better at throwing the ball, listen, man,
I
listen,
don't know.
listen.
I don't know. Is Texas A&M a sleeper team if South Carolina's not?
Um,
I think South Carolina could be a sleeper team if A&M is a sleeper team.
but they're not really a sleeper team though. Like everybody's talking about South Carolina.
You're right. You're
They're
right.
not a sleeper.
Everybody's talking about them.
And it's funny that everybody's talking about it, but they're not even gonna make the SEC title game after all that. They're just not gonna make it. It's gonna be Georgia and Texas like it was last year. You know, like
All right. Let's talk about the Big 12. So, I mean, who would be the favorite in the Big 12? Like, can you think of a top, like off the top of your head, who the favorite in the Big 12 is going into the year? Like,
Arizona State, no question.
okay, right,
Sam
right.
Sam Levitt's back.
He's back.
That
Good
wide
point.
receiver is back.
Good point.
Even though Scatterbo's gone, I think Arizona
Any-
State is
Anybody
gonna
else?
have
Like, no
another
question
successful season.
at the top of the.
Texas Tech, maybe.
Now I have Texas Tech as one of my sleeper teams. I don't, but if you're saying you think they're,
I mean, I just know that they've done a lot of work in the offseason in the
yeah,
portal.
in the portal, they ate in the portal.
Yeah, like I don't. So we don't. We gotta see how that comes together. But other than that, I mean, Utah. They got
Hmm.
that quarterback from New Mexico State. I think
Hmm.
Utah's gonna be a pretty good team.
I think Utah could
Like,
be a good sleeper, to be honest, a good sleeper
yeah,
pick.
like I think Utah's gonna be like the Utah we really recognize now.
Okay.
Now that the Cam Rising saga is done, he's not holding them hostage anymore. I think that Utah could be another team that's up there
Yeah,
because
I'm
that
thinking
dude
of
in New
Kansas.
Mexico was a dude.
He is a player. I don't know his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about. He could play
Yeah,
because that's the team that beat what's his face? New Mexico beat what's their face this year, right?
I forgot, but I feel like I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, but Kansas is a team I'm definitely looking at as a sleeper, maybe taking a step forward.
I mean,
Um,
is Jalen Daniels gonna be healthy? That's my problem.
that's the I think that's obviously everybody's question, but I think if he is healthy, right, that they're bringing back one of the top quarterbacks in the Big 12, and I don't know. I don't know. I was believing in Kansas for a second, and then they just last year was just like a slap in the face. Jalen Daniels was hurt. I mean, so I get it, but even 2 years ago when he was hurt and what's his face was playing, Jason Bean,
Yeah.
it was hooping. It was hooping, but I don't know. I'm looking at Kansas, the Jayhawks right now to be my Big 12 sleeper team. Any other Big 12 sleeper teams you can think of?
Um, I don't know. I like Utah. I think Kansas is a good pick. Kansas State could be another one. They did win 9 games last year. Um, can Avery Johnson get better at throwing? That's the question. We know what type of runner he is. So I just think this is another wide open conference like it always is. Um, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, Houston should be better. I don't know where Arizona's going to be. Can Oklahoma State not be terrible this year? You know,
Oh, that team was so funny.
Baylor should be interesting too. I think they have a younger quarterback that they was playing a lot last year, and if he could take another step because they won 8 games last year, like I think there's a lot of teams that can make some noise, man.
Yeah, the Big 12 is going to be fun as it usually is. Um, but all right, let's talk a little bit about this Nico situation that's going on and playing out with Tennessee, and then we'll close out the show there. Unless you have anything else that you want to get into, but obviously, for those that are on social media and Twitter, basically Nico signed an agreement with Tennessee's NIL collective that could pay him more than $8 million by the end of his junior year, which was he signed that back in 2022. His current contract had him being paid from 2.2 to 2.5 million this year, but his team, his agent, his corner wanted his deal increased to around the $4 million range. That's about a million more than Bryce Underwood and Carson Beck are currently making. Um, with the spring portal coming up, Tennessee officials and Nico's camp they entered active negotiations, and today it seemed like Tennessee players and officials were surprised when Nico no showed at spring practice. Um, so this has been an interesting situation going on, and something that is due to college football, but could potentially be something that we're going to see a lot more in college football with the revenue sharing model that is beginning in 2025, and a lot of these players making salaries, basically, as you can see here with Nico and his situation. Um, Steph, what are your overall thoughts? What is your read on the situation? Um, do you think anybody is right or wrong? Do you think no one's right or wrong? Do you think there's a clown? And like, what are your overall thoughts on this whole debacle that's going on currently?
I think it's nonsense, man. You ain't good enough to be holding out on anybody, bro. You ain't good enough to be holding out on anybody. I mean, this is another one of those players that we've been talking about that has all this hype,
Hmm.
5-star quarterback coming out of high school, this and that, and I just, he hasn't lived up to that hype so far. Now, there's stories not over or anything like that, but I just don't understand, you know, where the where this is coming from. Um,
Yeah,
like,
go ahead.
you're like, who are you to even be holding out and asking for money? And you
It's
know
also
what? You know what? A lot of time, and I gotta freaking dial it back a little bit because a lot of times it isn't even the athlete themselves. You gotta remember these people are really young, they in college
right.
still. It's the parents or other people around them that's making them do it. So, you know, that's the
Listen to
sad part.
listen to this stat because I think it truly does go along with what you're saying. With some of these guys need to have like some self awareness. I mean, last year he threw 19 touchdowns total, and 11 of those touchdowns came versus Chattanooga, UTEP, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, get the hell out of here, bro.
Four,
Stop it.
he threw 9 touchdowns in SEC play, and
Stop it.
four of them came against Vandy.
So he only
So
threw so he only threw 5 touchdowns in 7 games. Stop it. Mind you, they had good wide receivers with Squirrel White and Dante Thornton, and there's another one I'm thinking of. But it's like, bro, like this is not a team that didn't have weapons. They had Brew McCoy, like they had good players at all the positions. Like there's really no excuse to not be throwing touchdowns.
yep. So interesting saga going on. I love it. I love to see Tennessee in the mud. Um,
Yeah, you
I mean,
love it, don't you?
spring portal opens April 16th, so next week. That would be a wild situation to see him hit the portal. I don't know where Tennessee would turn, what they would do. I know they have Jake Merklinger, a pretty highly rated freshman, redshirt freshman from last year. Um, George McIntyre is another highly rated freshman that they brought in the portal. Jaden Rashada is in the portal right now. I guess they can. Is Mendoza? Did he find a spot? Cal's quarterback.
Yeah, Mendoza's at Indiana, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, good. So yeah, I mean, I this would be unprecedented. I don't think we've ever seen a quarterback of this stature like join the portal this late. Like this would be a move that would be wild to see if it were to happen. But
I mean, where would he even go? Because in the spring window, it's not like there's a whole lot of options.
I I agree. It would be I would be very interested to see what happens and how this plays out because I don't know. I mean, most likely what happens is they just pay up or they come to some kind of agreement or deal or something.
I would
But
let that fool go. I'm
but
not.
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not dealing with no nonsense like that, bro. You ain't nobody special. Like even in that game, bro, I saw this man in person against NC State where they blew them the hell out, right? But it wasn't because of him. He threw two dumb interceptions in that game. I've seen it in person, bro. You ain't nobody special. Just stop it. You need to be focused on football. And and if it's his family doing it, even more shame on them because y'all doing something. Y'all messing up this man's whole career perception. Now nobody messing with him. Come on, bro. Y'all gotta stop it. You ain't worth that much money. If you ain't a good player, you ain't worth that much money. Why you think you worth so much money? You haven't done nothing. You have not won a conference. You have not won a playoff game. You have not done anything. What have you done? What have you done?
like you said, they've done nothing.
Win something, then you could ask for money. That should be the rule. Win something that you can get paid. Cause I'm tired of people thinking they should get paid before they even do anything. You ain't done a goddamn thing. Why should you get paid? Like I'm willing to listen to any point. But like if you haven't done anything, why do you think you need to get paid?
I echo that. I echo that. But and I wonder what the teammates are thinking about that. Like as imagine like you're getting ready for the season and spring practice. This is like the time of the year where you guys are really supposed to be getting right, taking steps, building your foundation for this season coming up, and your starting quarterback, the guy that you're all relying on and depending on, is like,
Yeah,
nah,
it's a
bruh,
distraction. It's a distraction.
I'm not practicing until I get my bag.
It's a
Like, come on,
distraction.
like,
It's a
come on.
distraction. Bro, if you first of all, it's like, bro, like if you and this is where I sort of understand when old people talk about young people having a soft mentality. Cause it's like, bro, if I was playing football as a kid, if you didn't go to practice, you were not playing. Period.
Yeah,
Now you can argue, okay, now if the superstar or whatever didn't come to practice, would they have the same rule for him? But they came to practice. Like you want to be the best, you have to. It's not only about performing the best on the field. It's about being that example because the whole team is looking at the leaders, the best players. They're all the young guys, the freshmen. They're all looking at how y'all behave. They're looking at the best players and the senior leaders and all of them. They're looking at how they behave. If you have a player like that, that's the starting quarterback that thinks it's okay to not go to practice. There's gonna be other people that think it's okay not to go to practice or not show the effort in practice. Like this is just stuff you can't have, you know, on your team in practice in the spring. I mean, look at teams that have won the national title. Have you ever heard stuff like this coming out? No, you haven't,
no,
because the locker room is under control, whether it's the coach's fault or the player's fault. I mean, a lot of times you hear that it's a player-led thing, and I believe it because, like I say, you have to. Like the coaches are gonna say what coaches say. They're gonna be adults. They're gonna be the ones that are saying the right things and telling people what to do. But the players have to do it themselves. And it's always a hierarchy. It's a trickle down. You have to look at how are the leaders behaving? How are the best players behaving? Because it's not always the oldest, right? Sometimes you have a guy that's a freshman that's starting. Is he doing the right thing? Because everybody's looking at them. That's just the bottom line. So, you just can't have stuff like this. And, like for a team like Tennessee to be having this kind of thing happen, like it just makes me think that they're never going to get to the level that they want.
I can definitely agree with that. Now, Steph, the true question of the day is: do you have a con of the week submission?
Um, has there even been any Connery?
It's the off season right now, so I'm sure
It
there
is
has been,
slow.
but it has to be, we can hold it off till next week.
I think it is funny how Jaden Rashada went from starting at Arizona State to leaving and hitting the portal to go to Georgia, and now he is looking at teams like UTEP or
Yeah.
what was the teams he was looking at portal? G5s, like.
I mean, that's just another situation where, like you mentioned with Nico, just a lot of these guys are young, and it's not all the time. It's not them. A lot of it is their parents, their agents, and other
Hmm.
greedy people in their lives. And while I
Yeah,
don't
because
know,
there was that whole debacle with him in Florida and then going to
yeah,
Arizona State and then leaving. But you know what? I'm glad. Honestly, and in hindsight, I'm glad he left Arizona State because they ended up getting Sam Levitt, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the country now.
yeah,
So,
it all worked out. But
yep.
all right then, looks like we'll end the show here. Then we appreciate everybody's patience during the off season and that break that we took, but we are back now throughout the whole rest of the season. We got the draft coming up next week as well, or maybe not next week, but 2 weeks. So we'll talk about some of the college players entering the draft and some of those guys as well. We'll talk about some of the spring games that are going to be played this upcoming weekend and next weekend as well. Um, some recruiting, some portal news once the portal opens back up as well. So a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss as we prepare for the new season. Um, but until then, we appreciate all the love and the support. You know where to find us on social media at the Pigskin Live. Um, anything else you want to plug real quick, Steph?
I think that's it, man. Go Ducks.
All right. We'll see you guys next time and go Gators. Peace.